Thank you, St. Charles City Municipal Band. So, my name is Jerry Brady. I'm with the Marine Corps League, Detachment 725 here in St. Charles County. My sunglasses making it worse. Okay. Officer of the Day. Present the colors.
Left, left, your left, right, left. Your left, your left, your left, right, left. Your left, your left, your left, right, left. Your left, your left, your left, right. A detail, halt. American flag only. To your post, forward, march. Post colors. To your post, forward, march. Red pose. Color guard. Good flag bearers. Post.
Thank you.
Please join me in singing our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order, march.
Please join me in the pledge to our great country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ooh, this heat's getting to me. Okay, the national anthem was sang by Kathy Lawton Brown, American Legion Post 404. Pledge of Allegiance was by Kathy Perrine, Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 458. And we'll have the invocation by Rich Mittendorf, American Legion Post 312.
Dear God, be with us lest we forget the noble efforts of our veterans in war and peace to preserve democracy, maintain order, and sustain humanity. May this special day be a reminder to all of us that freedom is not free, that there are some who fall. Let us remember their sacrifices. May thy blessing be upon all those who still serve this nation in uniform and out of uniform. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Supposed to make an announcement to start things off that if anyone needs to use the restroom, please use the doors into the building down here. If anyone feels like they need to get out of the sun, please do. So at this time, we'll have a welcome by St. Charles County Executive Steve Ellman.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks to all of you for being here today. It's a tribute to those who have fallen. It's a great honor for me every year to have an opportunity just to say a few words at this event. You know, there's not much you can say to those who have fallen other than thanks, and perhaps hug a family or friend who's a survivor. Other than that, it's all we can do is do everything we can for those who've returned. The next week we'll be celebrating the 70th anniversary of the D-Day invasion. When I was a kid, I loved World War II movies, and one of my favorite was The Longest Day. And watched that. Great story. But I didn't really appreciate the courage that it took to go onto that beach, or the horrors that people met there, until I saw Saving Private Ryan 40 years later. I think of those men who died there and all of the other men who died in that war and the war since. And we need to make sure that they are treated properly when they come home. And there's a lot of discussion, of course, in Washington right now about the VA hospitals. I had a uncle who was wounded D-Day plus 10, was paralyzed, and spent a lot of time in VA hospitals in the 1960s, 70s until 1985. At least that's when I was around to see him. And even then, I think our hospitals some were better than others. I know he didn't like to go downtown St. Louis to the Cochrane. Every year he'd go for tests down to Memphis. But in Memphis, he just thought that the VA hospital down there did a great job for him and for all the people of that generation. I had assumed that they had continued to do that. If they're not, we did make sure our representatives in Washington, D.C. take care of that problem and take care of it now. What can we do? About 8 months ago, my staff and I went down and met with Eric Greitens, and many of you know Eric. He's a former Navy SEAL, and he's been very active in helping those veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan who have returned. And he suggested we look at a best practices plan for St. Charles County, and the one we are going to ask the county to adopt is something that the Chamber of Commerce in Arizona adopted a short time ago. And in that, we basically link key community veteran support groups with veterans that work for us. We establish a relationship with institutions around the area. We maintain a presence and where there's recruiting going on to make sure people know about opportunities here in our government. We have a mentoring program for those veterans who do work for us, and we reach out to the private sector to duplicate that sort of program that we're going to put in place and to honor them if they do. We're going to ask the council to approve a new FTE to work on this program, which was designed specifically to help the veterans who work for us. We hope that businesses in St. Charles will adopt the same type of program. And again, it's all we can do to honor those who have not made it back, is to take care of those who have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Allman. This time, we'll get a welcome from St. Charles Mayor Sally Faith.
Thank you. You think we've going to have a cool wave come through in a minute? I'm thinking about it. Listen, I got to tell you guys, to sit there and play in this heat, thank you. Guys and gals, men and women, sorry. Thank you for taking time to be here today to honor the fallen servicemen and women of our great nation. It's incredibly moving and heartwarming to see a continuation of collaboration between St. Charles County and the city, commemorating the military personnel who courageously protect our nation's freedom. So many servicemen and women risk their lives to protect us, and today we are honoring those individuals that have now passed on. Speaking of collaborative efforts, I would also like to just call to your attention, there's another commemorative event that will take place in St. Charles in the fall. I think fall. Okay. September 19, fostered by the St. Charles Veterans Commission, we will host a watchfire ceremony at Bishop's Landing in support of the POW and the MIA Recognition Day. I truly appreciate the importance of honoring those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, and likewise, in addition to being appreciative of your attendance today. I would also like to encourage your attendance. If you could come, and you'll be seeing some information. We need to honor everyone that we can. I will close and make everything brief here I'd like to share an untitled poem by Marina Michaels in 1915. We cherish too the poppy red that grows on fields where valor led. It seems to signal to the skies that blood of heroes never dries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it very much. Okay, at this time, the St. Charles City Municipal Band will play a musical selection with Kathy Lawton Brown will be singing along. Thank you.
And we invite you to stand when your service is played. We're going to start, I believe, with the Army.
To fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Shout out your numbers loud and strong, for wherever you go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. Is ready for the call. We serve on land and sea, through surf and storm and howling gale, high shall our purpose be. Semper is our guide, our fame, our glory to fight, to save or fight and die. Aye, Coast Guard, we are for you. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we will fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Yes, Marines, thank you. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they they come, zooming to meet our thunder. And our boys, give her the gun, give her the gun! Down we dive, spouting our flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, we'll go down in flame. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. Thank you, Air Force. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to college joys, we sail at break of day. Hey, hey, hey. Through our last night ashore, drink to the foam, until we meet once more. Here's wishing you a happy voyage home. Thank you, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and Army. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Municipal Band, and thank you, Kathy. That is, I love that lady's voice. At this time, we would like to observe a moment of silence. Please uncover as we honor those that have passed over the last year. Since Memorial Day of last year, here in St. Charles County, we received the names of 567 veterans that have passed away. Thank you. Please cover. You may be seated. At this time, we will have the roll call of departed veterans. I'm going to give the names of the readers first, and they will just come up as the next, or the one preceding them is finished. The first reader will be Lynn Karolzak, Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 458. Number 2 is Tom Kuipers, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 2866. Number 3 is Janice Hartley, American Legion, Post 313. Number 4 is George Newell, Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 458. Number 5 is Tom Beeser, excuse me, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 2866. Number 6 is Tom Lauer, American Legion, Post 312. And number 7 is Don Newman, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 2866.
Alfred N. Adams III, Jesse C. Aldridge, Jr., Edward J. Alexander, Armand, Richard A. Attenbush, Harry Appeal, Theodore Applebaum, Jill Arisi, Edward Athey, Raymond G. Abashan, Wayne Z. Avsil, Ronald J. Boschert, James M. Bagwell, Aubrey L. Bailey, Richard W. Bosch, Robert J. Ball, Robert Banker, Janine R. Barber, John Barrett, Howard L. Bartu, Joseph Berzini, William Bass, Victor Barrow, William Braden Jr., Harvey C. Becker, Melvin Becker, Warren Becker, Richard F. Breen, William F. Barr, William S. Bell Sr., Albert J. Benny, Paul W. Brennan, Paul W. Bierman, Sam Vicente, William Bishop, Thelma L. Blakeney, William M. Bland, Jack L. Blevins, Michael J. Blum, Thomas Basuri, Ralph C. Bloom, John C. Bosser, Robert Bodie, Dorothy M. Bloomflurth, Wilbur J. Boschert, John Brennan, Clifford Bright, Joe D. Brines, Byron Brooks, Gary L. Brown, John D. Brown, Robert E. Bruner, Severio Bruno, Glenn Buckland, Jack Brunch, Warren G. Brunch, Boyd Bruceland Sr., Benny J. Burns, Billy J. Burns, Anthony Calderola, Robert Collier, John Carrion, Douglas J. Carr Jr., Joe Carroll, Terrence C. Carty, Bobby R. Carter, Richard L. Siglinski, Ralph Sorrenti, Andrew Shevin, George H. Clark, Robert F. Cole Sr., Kurt R. Compton, Craig G. Connolly, Salinas L. Conrad, Verlin R. Copeland, Thomas F. Colson, Leslie W. Coulter, William Contaway Sr., James T. Covington, Jack Cowherd, Samuel N. Cox, Charles P. Crawford.
John J. Crawford Sr., Lloyd D. Crawford, James R. Creamer Sr., Stephen T. Creamer Sr., Russell T. Cruz, Billy D. Crockett, Eugene Conk, Billy A. Cross, Melvin R. Cooley, Thomas A. Cunningham, John Degenhart, Richard C. Dalton, Frank D'Amico, Charles Dandino, Leroy E. Doughty, Alva E. Davidson, Curtis T. Davis, Edwin L. Davis, Gordon L. Davis, Joe Davis, Carson L. Decker, Kenneth M. Dennison, Vernon L. Denny, Dexter L. DePalm, John W. Devendal III, Pasquale D. Fernandino,
Vernon R. Dickerson, Robert Diefenbach, Alan A. Deering, Walter Dearson, Stephen R. Digman, James R. Dinwiddie, Jim Dodds III, Robert W. Derhoff, Sheldon W. Dolitsky, John J. Duty Sr., Roger D. Dudley, Robert A. Dudzik, John E. Duff, John T. Duffy Jr., Kenneth H. Dyson, Herschel O. Dunlap, Alfred J. Eck, Louis Edelden, Melvin Edwards, Charles W. Elliott, Ray Elliott, Norman A. Engelage, Bernard Epstein, Ezekiel Evans III, James M. Evers, Richard Floyd Farr, Harold Faith, Samuel L. Famous, Donald E. Fedderson, Floyd E. Fetch, George W. Fetter, John W. Finklang, Paul W. Finley, James R. Fisher, Ralph L. Fisher, Raymond R. Fleming, Daniel D. Flesher, Robert Fletcher, Thomas E. Flynn, Richard G. Feller, William J. Forster, William Forbes Sr., Ronald E. Forquer, Merle D. Foss, Leonard E. Foster, Donald L. Faust, Bill Fowler, Joseph Fritz, Todd M. Fruits, Rank A. Galati Sr., Robert D. Galick, Michael L. Ganusis, Thomas Garrett, Ernest A. Gibbs.
Harold Greer, Bernard A. Giesler, Robert J. Gilbers, Craig Gilmore, Gerald F. Glossner, Marvin Godberry, Gary L. Goins, Clarence R. Golden, Harold C. Gordy, Ronald F. Gorman, Edward F. Goss Sr., Douglas N. Graham, Paul R. Graham, William Graham, Raymond Graveman, Thomas I. Griffin, Philip C. Grippy, Harold H. Groper, Nelson Gustavs, George W. Haas, Fred M. Hacknell Sr., Richard Hafferkamp, Robert D. Haley, James E. Hall, Kent D. Hamilton, John Hampton, Nelson G. Hamrick, John C. Hannigan, Carl E. Hansen, Arnold Harlan, Charles N. Harmon, Ed Harper, James B. Harris, Douglas Haston, Robert A. Hatesall, Robert W. Hauser, Kenneth L. Hawkins, John P. Hawkins, Mark W. Haynes, Vernon Henschelbeck, Steve Hambry, Martin D. Henderson, Thomas F. Hansen, Robert L. Hines, Richard A. Herzensteiner, David W. Hibbets, William Hilborn, Milton Hill, Vernon H. Horath, Leroy F. Hoffman, Harold P. Hogarth, James L. Holderath, Jack Holt, James E. Holzhauser, Don Hopkins, Charles J. House Jr., Douglas Hofvatter Jr., Leslie D. Howell, Gilbert Howley, Lawrence Halbert, James R. Huddleston, Lloyd S. Huey, Michael B. Hoffman, Ira L. Humphrey, Bobby G. Humphreys, Kenneth D. Hearn, Laverne J. Eisert, Wayne Jakovac, Donald L. Jackson, Lawrence J. Jacobs, Louis A. James, Jimmy Johnson, Leslie F. Johnson, Chapman Johnston, Charles L. Jones, John W. Jordan, Louis M. Jarl, Kenton R. Justice, Walter R. Kaminsky, Arnold F. Kinsteiner Jr., Larry Keeney Sr.
Ed Keevan Sr., James Kellums, Carolyn A. Kelly, Charles E. Keltner, Edward Keppel Jr., Franklin Kessner, Michael Kettler, Richard V. Kibler, George S. Kimball, Ron Kinsler, Alfred Kirkpatrick, James L. Kister Sr., Elmer D. Cleric, Michael E. Kleeschulte, Robert Nodal, Richard Knott, Norbert J. Koenig, Edward Kondracki, John E. Kopp, Edward Karb Sr., Bernard Korenhauser, Raymond T. Kostecki, Chester Kozicki, James L. Kraut, Robert J. Cruz, William G. Cool, William J. Kunderer, Robert A. Kurtzborn, Arthur A. Kyle, Don E. LeBrier, Edward G. Lammers, Edward S. LaPont Jr., Robert Lahr, Jack W. Lay, Wayne A. Leahy, William E. Lee Jr., Edward J. Lenhoff, Melvin K. Lentz Sr., Charles F. LePage, Robert R. Lepp, Andrew G. Lewandowski, James E. Linderer, Boy D. Lidekin, Walter O. Lobo Jr., Donald E. Lowry, Charles P. Louvrine Jr., Richard G. Lukenville, Robert K. Mack, Herbert E. Magruder III, James Malaway, John W. Malone, John M. Maloney Sr., Joe L. Maniger, Vito J. Marciante Sr., Walter J. Marshall, Larry F. Martin Sr., Noble L. Martin, Thomas D. Martin, Vincent F. Martin, Charles R. Mask, John J. Matusik, Harry E. Matchik, Arvel Mayer, Jesse O. McCullough, Stephen McEwen, Lee E. McGill, Robert McHenry, James E. McKean, James A. McKenna, Billy McKinney, Alan McMahon II, Larry L. McNeely, James L. McPherson, Glenn A. McRoy, Billy L. Miney, Albert E. Minemeyer, Harold Meyer, Louis Meyer, William Middleton, Joseph F. Miller, Leonard P. Miller, Jr.
Bernice E. Milligan, Roy E. Milzark Jr., Roy Milzark Sr., Roba Minzer, James H. Moore, Charles Morris, William R. Morrison, Verlin L. Moss, James J. Moulton, Roscoe E. Moulthrop III, William D. Mosey Jr., James Murphy, John J. Murphy, Raymond E. Nadler, Ronald R. Narsh, Henry L. Nelson, Raymond W. Neerbaum, Royce W. Newald, Herschel P. Nixon, Cicero Noblin, John Nold, Stephen A. Norman, Edward J. O'Brien, Mildred N. Odell, Thomas A. Oklaus, Charles F. Offholder, Robert O. Mara, Ralph B. Onyet, August A. Orff, Jr., Donald J. Orff, Gerald Orff, Raymond J. Orr, Louis L. Ortega, Daniel J. Osborne, Sr., Betty J. O'Toole, Robert Oddie, Leo S. Pagano, Raymond M. Panhurst, Charles A. Panet, Charles W. Parrish, Alvin C. Parson, John H. Patriquin, Nicholas J. Patrio, Paul Corver, Harold Peoria, John J. Pegg, Joe W. Phillips, Jr., Frank A. Pierce, Tom E. Pillow, Vito F. Picciota, Norman J. Plume, William Poggemeyer, Jr., Mark E. Pogue, John E. Pollard, Sr., Edward Polly, Gary Poole, Romanas A. Portel, Wilfred J. Post, Marvin L. Poston, James D. Potts, James E. Pruitt, Sr., John A. Pugh, Clarence Perler, Timothy A. Quinn, Gene Rader, Sr., James Rainey, George T. Rasmussen, George Ratcliffe, James D. Rayfield, Jack E. Raymond, Sonia Reed, Belmont Rigo, Danny Reichenbacher, Robert E. Ringers, Sr., John H. Reutner, Jr., Clarence Richter Cressing, Charles R. Ridgway, George Reister, Waldron Roberts, David A. Rogers, Sr.
James R. Rogers, Paul E. Rogers, Harvey Rogie, Charles F. Rolfe, Alois Rademick, Carol Rothmeyer, Harry H. Rouse, Jr., Patrick Rout, Daniel J. Rubery, Ralph Rudy, Art Ruman, Norman L. Russbacher, David M. Russell, Denver L. Rust, Willis R. Royal, Edwin D. Sachs, Philip Salvo, Robert J. Sandcork, Louis M. Sapanos, Robert C. Sauer, Velimir Salich, Charles P. Schaefer, Alton Schlabel, Richard Scharnhorst, Merle E. Shellman, Clarence A. Shipper, Arthur Schleter, Robert A. Schmidt, James E. Schoolcraft, Dorothy V. Schramm, Alvin J. Schrader, George A. Schulte, Willis Schulte, John A. Schultz, Carl F. Schultz, Gary C. Schultze, Henry A. Schultze, Robert Scott, Albert D. C., James H. Siegler, David L. Shaw, George F. Selnut, Jack Shemwell, Donald R. Short, Larry C. Shones, Eugene R. Siebold, John E. Sims, Frank H. Sitar, Martin Schlegel, Aubrey Smith Sr., Bernard W. Smith, Gerald T. Smith, Hartford C. Smith, Herbert E. Smith, Leroy H. Smith, Roy T. Smith, Oliver H. Summer, Thomas L. Sorensen, Robert C. Spam, John F. Spatz, Sr., Kenneth P. Spencer, Roger L. Sadler, Robert W. Stahl, Paul J. Steger, George C. Steiger, Jr., Gerald V. Steinkamp, Harold M. Stellern, Mark C. Stevens, Gene L. Stewart, Marvin E. Stickrod, John Strobel, Jr., Gilbert J. Stunkel, Daniel T. Surif, Patrick E. Sullivan, James B. Swafford, Bruce A. Swanson, Bruce W. Schwope, Otis W. Spines, John G. Sadowski, Jr., Albert B. Taylor.
Stephen A. Taylor, William Tenney, Clifford O. Terschluss, Nora Theobald, Roy Thiele, Kenneth R. Thompson, Richard L. Thompson, Lee Thomer, David L. W. Thurman, Robert L. Teasing, Donald A. Tilley, Sr., Aloysius J. Touchthorpe, Gary B. Thorbett, James M. Tooth, William E. Trelockock, Richard W. Tucker, George H. Turner III, Billy L. Tweehouse, Gerald Umbach, Dennis P. Vasquez, Harold L. Vito, Robert E. Voges, James Waddell Jr., Peter Wagner, Marlon F. Waldendy, Huey L. Walker, David A. Wallace, Stephen E. Walber, Howard G. Walter, Sylvester Wamhoff Jr., James M. Ward, John R. Ward, Melvin Warnhoff, Raymond L. Warren, Robert R. Warren, Raymond L. Weber, David A. Weimer, Harold F. Wyszynski, Bernard A. Wyszyngrowski, Sr., Richard Wells, David Westlake, Albert Wetter, Woody W. Wheeler, William White, Dale E. Whitehead, Robert J. Wilbur, Kevin T. Whitett, Kenneth W. Wilkes, William F. Wilbrand, Ray A. Williams, Wesley V. Williams, Gary R. Wilson, Harold Wilson, Ted Wilson, Walter A. Windish, Clarence B. Windsor, Terry L. Winfrey, Jack J. Winkler, Terry Whipfler, Lawrence Wishney, Donald N. Witholder, Warren J. Wolfram, Lawrence C. Wood, Jr., Floyd W. Woodall, Darrell J. Woodcock, Daniel M. Wright, Howard E. Wright, Charles R. Weiss, John Yerke, Raymond L. Yesman, Elmer C. Young, Harry W. Zattarella, Robert F. Zeiss, Wayne A. Zeisset, Donna Zink, Lawrence E. Zirkel, Norman L. Zaire, Kenneth J. Zigamar, Walter A. Zimmerman Jr., and Michael T. Zollner.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we have the wreath-laying ceremony, I do want to thank the municipal band for their participation. It wouldn't be the same without them. I want to thank all of the people that when we asked them to take a part in the program, that they stood up. I want to thank the veterans, you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming today. It would be rather pointless if we didn't have people to come in attendance when we have these programs. So thank you, and at this point we'll go ahead with the wreath-laying ceremony. We'll have Art Miner and Virgil Whitey Ohlendorf from Korean War Veterans Association, Chapter 6. We'll have the benediction by Tom Beezer, Chaplain, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 2866, followed by the rifle salute and taps by the Guard of Honor, American Legion, Post 312, and bugler, St. Charles City Municipal Band. Thank you.
Uncover, please. Almighty God, our gratitude for your generosity grows with each passing day. We acknowledge this day's special blessings. We have honored those who now enjoy your eternal embrace, and we ask your blessings on all that are present here. Especially do we seek your consolation for those recently bereaved, and may your grace be with them and with us now and forever. And if it be your will, may we be all favored to gather again in these circumstances and in this company before another year has passed. Amen.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance, and please attend the different veterans memorials that we have. I know on this day there are so many different organizations and different cities that have memorial services. We thank you for coming to this one. Have a great day.